From its history, significance to theme, let us know all about this day. In India, National Education Day is celebrated every year on November 11th as it marks the birth anniversary of Maulana Abdul Kalam Azad, who was India's first education minister after independence. Born on November 18, 1888, Abdul Kalam Ghulam Ahmad bin Azad was an Indian independence activist, writer, and a senior leader of Indian National Congress. After the nation gained independence, he became the first Minister of Education in the Indian government. He served as Education Minister from August 15, 1947 till February 2nd, 1958 and passed away in Delhi on February 22, 1958. So today we are here to celebrate this day. And today we have our esteemed guest, Ms. Nidhi Saxena ma'am, who is currently working as Assistant Professor, IMT College of Science and Technology. Today, she will brief us about the Education Day and also share her experiences and knowledge with us today. So a very warm welcome to you, ma'am. And I'm very grateful for you to have joined this session. And now over to you.
Thank you to the dignified guests and all the dignitaries, and especially Tanushree ma'am. I carry this forward, and I'm Assistant Professor Ms. Nidhi Saxena, working in the Department of Science and Technology, and I'll be carrying the importance of National Education Day. Yeah, as we know, has been celebrated over every year since 2008 on November 11 on the occasion of birth of Maulana Abdul Kalam Azad as his birth anniversary. He was the first education minister of independent India who served from 15th August 1947. If we go back to what started and who started National Education Day, every year on November 11, National Education Day is observed solemnly the birth anniversary of India's first education minister, Maulana Abdul Kalam Azad. The entire nation honors the contributions made by Maulana Abdul Kalam Azad, sir, on his day, which is also known as the Rashtriya Shiksha Divas. The National Education Day in India was officially announced by the Ministry of Human Resources Development in 2008, the birthday of Honorable Minister. Go back to the roots of who was Maulana Abdul Kalam Azad. Saudi Arabia, 1988, as Maulana Azad grew up to be one of the most finest leaders of the Indian independence movement in the late 20th century, fighting against the British rule. Maulana Abdul Kalam Azad was an avid reader, and hence he began to run his own library along with debating society. He grew up to be extensively interested in journalism and started his journey at a very young age. He published his first poetic journal in 1899 named In his 80s, he entered the journalism and began to publish an Urdu newspaper in Calcutta named as Al Hilal, meaning the crescent, the great crescent. Because we believe that Al Hilal was used as a weapon to attack the British policy and the autocratic rule, which was the norm of that time. Speaking truth to power, Abdul Kalam later started the educational week named as Al Balagh and Al Hilal, which was banned by the Britishers because of the immense popularity amongst the Islamic community. Time Abdul Kalam Azad was the first pioneer to bring education as a weapon of being more aware and more attuned to injustice prominent and finding ways to rebel against the British policy with office made the public aware the mightiness of the education and the value of the pen and sword. His views regarding education was his belief in education was such that he regarded school as a laboratories and the future. He even great emphasis on education and why every woman of our nation needs to be educated for the civil rights. He introduced training education students subject that we as the vocation was given by Maulana Abdul Kalam. Maulana resided that built high educational standards and great legendary minds. For him, education held utmost importance, and he ensured that a uniform standard of provided. 16 Maulana Kalam Azad, that education is the most important is to have. We must not for a moment forget it is the birthright of every individual to receive at least the basic of education. Without it cannot be discharged. Courses as a first education in 1947 went to make primary education and citizen right for children 14 years. If we go back to what is the importance of National Education Day. National Education Day embarks on the journey. Its contribution is relevant and inspires the students nationwide. Maulana Azad was one of the among the co-founders education regulator, University Grants Commission, that is the UGC. The UGC that we know today was given first of all by Maulana Abdul Kalam Azad. Other institutions that have been named in the honor of Maulana Abdul Kalam Azad are Maulana Azad Medical College in Delhi, Maulana Azad National Urdu University in Hyderabad, and Maulana many cultural and literally active activities and academics were established under the Azad's tenure, like the Sahitya Academy, Lalit Kala Academy, Sangeet Natak Academy, Indian Council for Cultural Relations, etc., which are quite known in the it is every citizen's basic right. He was referred to as Mir Karwan by Jawaharlal Nehru because of his great intellectual skills and his pursuits for outstanding personality who made people aware of the importance of education. Now, if we come to who celebrates National Education Day, it is the entire nation that celebrates the National Education Day as a festival. Students in all schools and colleges and universities prepare special performances and activities to give their tribute to Maulana Abdul Kalam Azad for his commendable contribution to the education sector. If we talk about how do we celebrate National Education Day, today National Education Day is celebrated on November 11 nationwide in schools, colleges, institutions, and universities in the memory of Maulana Abdul Kalam Azad. As per the guidelines of UGC or the University Grants Commission, all the schools and institutes organize seminars, workshops, essay writings, symposia, elocution competition, and rallies with banners, slogans, cards, charts to make people aware of the great awareness about education. The idea of performing these activities is to spread awareness of the importance of education for every individual. What are some of the most inspirational quotes of Maulana Abdul Kalam Azad is, the spirit of education could be easily detected in Azad's voice and words. Let us take you through his most popular quote evoking the importance of education. As per the words of Maulana Abdul Kalam Azad, education should build the capacities of the spirits of inquiry, creativity, entrepreneurship, and moral leadership among students and become their role model. Education is the norm of the modern times. No program of national education can be appropriate if it does not give full consideration to the education and advancement of one half of the society, that is the women. Education imparted by heart can bring revolution in the society. Climbing to the top demands trends, whether it is to the top of the Mount Everest or the top of the career, education is of paramount importance. Many people plant trees, but few of them get fruit for it. For that, education is something that is quite important. If we go back to the person from whom we celebrate this day, the real name of Maulana Abdul Kalam Azad was Sayyid Abdul Kalam Ghulam Muhayya Ahmad bin Khairuddin Al Husseini Azad, who was popularly known for his self taught education and how he rose to the prominence through his work. He was a prominent freedom fighter, leader of the Khilafat movement, and was the youngest person to perform in his duties as the president of IMC. The National Education Day also focuses on the principles which now the Maya convened and bringing the brilliant plan led to
Hello? Hello? Hello, Nidhi ma'am? Hello? Hello? Hello, Nidhi ma'am? Hello? I think there is some connectivity issues. Hello? Nidhi ma'am will be rejoining us soon. There was some connectivity issues with her.
On the National Education Day, we can come to the realization that the national education policy introduced will see which will be bridged with the latest undertakings, which will be giving high quality integrity into the system. Also, the aim of the Indian education system by 2040 is second to none, with equitable access to high quality education. All the learners, regardless of their social and economic backgrounds, accessible to high education standards. The national education policy given by recently is the first education policy of the 21st century, and it aims to address the many growing developmental imperatives of our society. Also, this policy proposes the revision, and the National Education Day will be also taking the revamping of all the aspects of education structure, including its regulation and governance, to create a new system that is aligned with the aspirational goals that is of the 21st century, including the SDG 4, that is building upon India's tradition and value system. Also, if we see the National Education Policy of 2020, which is a part of the National Education Day, we see that education policy lays particular emphasis on the development of the creative potential of every individual. Based on the principle that education must develop not only cognitive capacities, both the foundational capacity of literacy and numeracy, and high order cognitive capacities, such as critical thinking and problem solving, but also about the social, ethical, and emotional capacities and dispositions. The rich heritage of ancient and internal Indian knowledge has been a guiding light of this policy. The pursuit of the knowledge that is Jin, wisdom that is Pragya, and truth that is Satya was always considered in Indian thought and philosophies as the highest human goal, originally given on the National Education Day, which has been further propagated in the National Education Policy. The aim of education in ancient India is not just acquisition of knowledge as a preparation for life, but also beyond schooling and understanding the complete realization and liberation of one's world class institutions of ancient India, such as Takshila, Nalanda, Vikramashila, Vallabhai, set the highest standards of multidisciplinary teachings and research and hosted scholars and students such as Charak, Srut, Varhamir, Bhaskar, Brahmagupta Chanakya, which are also coming into the pillars of the national education policy. The national also education policy also lays the foundation giving to the world heritage that is also giving the nurturing and preserving of the research enhanced through our educational system. It says that a teacher must be the center of the fundamental reforms in the education system. The new education policy must help to re-establish teachers at all levels. And the National Education Day is indeed the stepping in the ancient pillar of this particular policy. We also see it as the most respected and essential policy of our society. The National Education Day talks about the national education policy that aims to provide all students, irrespective of their place of residence, a quality education system with particular focus on historically marginalized, disadvantaged, and underprivileged groups, giving access to every individual for the right to education. Education is a greater leveler and it is the best tool for achieving economic and social mobility, inclusion, and equality. Initiatives must be in place to ensure that all students must be from such groups and develop inherent abilities to provide targeted opportunities to enter and excel in the education class. The National Education Day makes us realize the elements that must be incorporated, taking into account the global and local needs of our country. The National Education Day also makes us realize that the knowledge of India has to be propagated into various social, cultural, and technological needs, and its inimitable artistic language, knowledge traditions, and strong ethics in India's young people that is considered critical for the purpose of national pride, self confidence, and self knowledge. If we see the previous policies which were given, which comes from this particular National Education Day, the previous policies were the implementation of previous policies of national education has focused largely on the issues of access of right to education and access and equity to every individual. The unfinished agenda of the National Policy of Education of 1986, modified into 1992, that is NPE 1986 and 92, that is appropriately dealt in this policy. A major development since the last policy of 86 and 92 has been the right to of education to right of children to free and compulsory education, which is indeed given by the National Education Day. The Compulsory Education Act of 2009, which was laid down for the legal underpinnings for achieving educational rights for every individual, is indeed given in the National Education Day. If we talk about the principles that were laid on the National Education Day are the purpose of education system is to develop good human beings capable of rational thought and action and possessing compassion and empathy, courage, resilience, scientific temper, and creative ingenuity with sound ethical understandings and values. It aims at producing engaged, productive, and contributing citizens for building an equitable, inclusive, and plural society envisaged by our Constitution. The Constitution of India also talks about free and easy education to every individual. Hence, a good education institution is one in which every student feels welcomed and cared for. A safe and stimulating learning environment exists, where a wide range of learning experiences are offered and where good physical infrastructure and appropriate resources are conducive to learning, all the available to the students. Attaining these qualities is of paramount importance in National Education Day and, of course, the National Education Policy. It talks that the goal of every educational institute should be attaining these qualities, that is, a wide range of learning, experiences offered, and very good physical infrastructure is quite a need. However, at the same time, there must also be seamless integration and coordination across institutions and across all stages of education. The fundamental principles of the National Education Day were given by the education system by and large, as well as the individual institutions within it. The first principle is recognizing, identifying, and fostering the unique capabilities of each student by sensitizing teachers as well as the parents to promote each student for holistic development in both academic and non-academic spheres. The second principle talks about giving the highest priority to achieving foundational literacy and numeracy by students for grade 3. The third principle talks about flexibility so that learners have the ability to choose their learning trajectories and progress and thereby choose their own path in life according to the talent and interests. There has to be no hard separators between arts and science. And hence, the fourth principle talks about taking arts and science as a curriculum and in extracurricular activities, also taking up as a vocational and academic streams, except in order to eliminate harmful hierarchies amongst the silos between the different areas of learning. When we talk about the multidisciplinary research, it talks about holistic education across the sciences, social sciences, arts, and humanities. And National Education Day also talks about the importance of these particular curriculums. When we talk about the emphasis on conceptual understanding rather than rote learning and learning for exams, the and critical thinking for encouraging logical and decision making and innovation is quite a word in this national education day. The next principle talks about the ethics and human and constitutional values like empathy, respect for others, cleanliness, courtesy, democratic spirit, spirit of service, respect for public property, scientific temper, liberty, responsibility, pluralism, equality, and justice. The next principle talks about promoting multilingualism and the power of the language in teaching and learning. Life skills such as communication and cooperation also comes into as teamwork and resilience, which is indeed highlighted in the National Education Day. The National Education Day also gives a strong emphasis on the extensive use of technology in teaching and learning, removing language barriers, increasing access for Divyang students, and educational planning, which is quite necessary for the management. The next principle that the National Education Day strongly emphasizes is the respect for diversity and respect for the local context in the curriculum, pedagogy, and policy, always keeping in mind that education is a concurrent subject. The National Education Day reminds us of full equity and inclusion as a cornerstone of all the educational decisions to ensure that all the students are able to thrive in our educational system. The National Education Day reminds us of the synergy in curriculum across all the levels of education, from early childhood care and education to school education and higher education. The teachers and faculty as a heart of learning process is also indeed emphasized strongly by the National Education Day. It also emphasizes on the recruitment, continuous professional development, positive workforce environment, and service conditions. The National Education Day reminds us light but tight regulatory framework to ensure integrity, transparency, and resource efficiency of the educational system through and public disclosure, while encouraging innovation and out-of-the-box ideas through autonomy, good governance, and empowerment. The National Education Day reminds us for conducting outstanding research as a core requisite and a strong need for outstanding education and development. The continuous review of progress based on sustained research and regular assessment by educational experts is indeed emphasized by the National Education Day. The National Education Day also paved pathway for the National Education Policy of the 2020, where we talk about a rootedness and pride in India and its rich, diverse, ancient, and modern culture, the knowledge system, and the tradition. It also talks about education as a public service, and access to education must be considered as a basic right of every child. It also talks about substantial investment in strong, vibrant public education system, as well as the encouragement and facilitation of true philanthropic, private, and community participation. The National Education Day talks about the visions of this policy. And this education policy and visions, an education system rooted in the Indian ethos that contributes directly to transforming India, that is Bharat, sustainably into an equitable and knowledge society by providing high quality education to all. And there the nation way constitution bonding with one's country and a conscious awareness of one's roles and responsibility in a changing world. The vision of this day is to instill among the leaders and learners a deep rooted pride in being Indian, not only in thought but in spirits, intellect, and deeds, as well as developing knowledge, skills, values, and disposition that supports the responsible commitment of human rights, sustainable development, and living. Global also a citizen. Also to the end of Education Day, and with this we end the value of the National Education Day.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for this wonderful session. And our students have learned a lot today. And I once again express my heartiest gratitude to you, ma'am, for joining us today on this session of IIC on National Education Day. Thank you so much, ma'am. I also thank all the listeners present in the session. Thank you once again to all. With this, we end this session.